Hey, everybody, welcome to After the Game with Todd Leary, of course, coming to you tonight from the Tap on Mass Ave in Indianapolis as the Big Ten tournament is underway here in Indy tonight. Indiana taking on Rutgers, and, of course, that game did not go the way that the Hoosier fans would like to see. Todd is so depressed. He's in a dark, dark room. But we're going to talk to Todd about the game. Colin Hartman may join us a little bit later as well. But there was definitely some booze in there, Todd, and it's definitely an indication of what would have happened had there been fans in Assembly Hall this year. But Indiana started out good, as they have so many times, and then because the guard play was not there, Trace Jackson-Davis was doing a lot of it himself, and you wear out. And then when he was out there for a while in that second half, they jumped up, and that seemed to be kind of the difference. They never let up from there.
Yeah, I mean, this game was eerily similar to the last ball game that Indiana played Rutgers at Rutgers. They jumped out to that 15-point first-half lead, and then by halftime, Rutgers had taken back over. But, I mean, you know, this game was pretty symbolic of this team for the whole season. And, Jim, you know, I mean, scoring 50 points in this ball game is really – I mean, it's kind of just proving that there needs to be something done. And that's not a coaching change statement. That is this team needs to be revamped in the style of play. And it can be with the same players. It can be with brand new players. It can be with the same coaches. It can be with new coaches. But it needs to be revamped because this team is a 50-point-a-game team. And that's how they play. That's how they act. That's where they are right now. And so, you know, a lot of the things that you said, 2 for 16 from the three-point line. I mean, you know, I'm not going to let that go without bringing it up. It's unacceptable. You can't win games in the Big Ten. You can't win games in Conference USA going 2 for 16 from the three-point line. So there's a lot of things that went on. Trace Jackson-Davis's defense in this basketball game is maybe one of the worst games of Division I basketball defense I've ever seen. He got beat by – they were taking turns driving around Trace Jackson-Davis today. I don't know what his issue was, but defensively he really, really struggled today. And offensively he looked good. I mean, he kept him in the game for a lot of that, and that's awesome. But defensively he was a major league liability today.
And they tried to play him on Franklin. He tried to tough it out. I know he's dealing with that ankle injury. He helped him, but you could tell he wasn't at full strength. But, man, you've got to have other guards that step up. We know that. We've talked about it all year, and that was the difference. This was a game that was just I tweeted this out. This was just a game that somebody was waiting to win. It wasn't a tough game either way. Just do something, and Rutgers got on that little run, and the difference was they had some guys that started making shots. That guy in the corner hit those ones, and that's all it was.
Well, and Jim, you know, in the first half, the exact same thing happened when Indiana played at Rutgers 3 weeks ago. Is Rutgers couldn't make a shot, and they fell behind pretty big to Indiana. And that's exactly Indiana's season. Like, Indiana's season is when they can't make shots, they fall behind, and then they're not built as a team that's going to have a ton of firepower and be able to come back. And so, you know, Rutgers is not a very good offensive team either. They luckily in both ball games here recently with Indiana have gotten hot at some point, and that was the difference for them. But they're not a good team. I mean, they're definitely not a good offensive team. They kind of play well together. They've got some older players. That's why truly I think you're saying we just kind of waited for Rutgers to make a little run at the end, and then they were going to take the game away because they're older. They're more veteran players, and I think we just expected that to happen. And, you know, so I symbolically turned the lights out here. It was kind of turning the lights out of the season, and I just does anyone else? I mean, look, we're Indiana fans. We wouldn't be on here doing this and wasting our time talking about it if we weren't Indiana fans. But Jim, is everyone not relieved? Like, I'm relieved I don't have to watch this crap anymore. Wonder if he's frozen to everyone or if I'm just frozen.
I did not bring an extra set of clothes. I didn't bring a suitcase, and I always do. Seriously, and I usually always do that, and I didn't, and so I am, because it's been the same thing. I mean, I love doing this show; it's fun, but the last 6-7 games, it has not been. It's the same old routine, same old stuff to talk about. It's not fun. We know what the problems are. I don't know what the answers are. you're closer to it. You don't even know what the answers are because there's so many stupid questions. We don't even know what all the questions are. But it's, you said it. Change has to come, and no matter what that is, it's a massive change. Whether it's in staff, personnel,
style of play,
coach.
just their culture. Like, we've talked about it all year long. Like we've even now seen the national media start to jump on board and say, you don't know what Indiana's all about. You don't know what Indiana's made of. You don't know what they're trying to accomplish. Like, their culture is undefined.
The one question I would have, how do you have a change in culture or a playing style without a coaching change, without this coaching change? Because he sure seems like a one-trick pony to me.
Yeah, I mean, and it'd be a very difficult / I'm going to probably even say unprecedented situation. But I honestly believe they don't use this in basketball like they do in football. And honestly, I don't really have a good reason as to why. But I mean, Archie Miller needs to relinquish the offense to an actual offensive coordinator. He needs to hire an offensive coordinator to come in and put in an offense. And does that sounds crazy? Like, you chuckle when I say something like that. Everybody does, but it's true. And in a football game, if the team was averaging 16 points a game in a football season, everybody would say, well, the offensive coordinator's no good. They wouldn't say the head coach sucks. They would say the offensive coordinator ain't any good. They need a new offensive coordinator. And that's where
it's exactly what happened with Indiana a couple years ago with Mike DeBoer. He was a very unimaginative offensive coordinator. And there was a lot of calls because the offense sucked. And Tom Allen knew he had to make a change. And guess what he did? He made a change. And guess what he did? He brought in Colin DeBoer, who revamped that offense, got it jacked up and rolling, and then he's off to a head coach position. But this offense is now rolling. It's exactly what you're talking about. He made the change. And that's a guy who had been a head coach at that time for 2 whopping years in his whole career.
It doesn't look. I'm telling you, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that obviously there needs to be some changes. Like, they need to do some things that are different than what they've been doing, because it's not working. This is, you kind of said it a second ago, and this sums it up for me. Is, for the last 7 games, Jim, I'm getting tired of hearing myself say the same thing over and over and over again. Like, it's ridiculous. But the overall theme to everything that I say is the relationship between the coaches and the players is not working. And whatever they're doing together, which translates into what we see out on the floor during games, it's not working. It's not a winning formula. And therefore, that needs to change. Now, I'm not saying needs to change like those people all need to go away and we need all new coaches, all new players and all that. I think they could change within themselves. But I think it would take something drastic that you just don't hear about very often. And, Archie Miller is a very, very hands-on head coach. There are some coaches that are pretty hands-off. Like, they may not do a whole lot with the defense. They may have a defensive assistant or whatever. But in this case, Archie is a very, very hands-on offense and defensive coach. And that's what I think in this scenario. I think in order for him to keep this job and be successful at this job, I think he's going to have to hand over the reins of the offense.
Well, I guarantee you, because at least my opinion is that after this long, that he doesn't have, I don't know, the skills, the knowledge, the experience, whatever you want to call it, to do that. Or I would surely hope that he would have.
That we would have tried that already. Yeah, you would think they'd have tried that.
Preposterous seasons. Which really brings the question, why in the hell is a guy at this level that inept to be able to make some change? I mean, that's a little shocking at this level. It's a lot shocking, to be honest with you, for a coach to rise to this level and not be able to make those kinds of adjustments. I mean, it's sad.
Well, I think this is the case, and this is kind of a cliche statement that we've heard about not Indiana, but about programs in general, is, a lot of times when things are going great, the coaches and players and everybody get way too much credit. And when things are going bad, they get too much blame. And I think a lot of that is true and factual. And I think it more along the terms of get a lot of credit when things are going great. I said it earlier. People talk about Phil Martelli from Michigan like he's fantastic and awesome and does great stuff. Those people who say that, I would love to ask them, what's he do that's great? Because they don't know. They hear Clark Kellogg say it, or they hear, Dan Dockage or somebody say it during a game, and he probably is great. I can tell you, he looks like he's a very calming influence over there on the bench. He looks great, but everybody says he does great stuff. But if I ask a typical fan, what's he do that's great? They can't tell me. I don't know what he does that's great, but I kind of believe it because I hear people who I trust in basketball say it. And so, I don't think that this coaching staff, I do not think Archie Miller is someone that can't win at this level. I'm not going to agree with that no matter who says it. But I do think he needs help, and I do think he needs to relinquish the coaching staff at Indiana, the staff, all of them together. Either Archie's not giving up enough of the responsibility, or the other guys are not kicking in enough information. One of those two things have to be the case.
Lori asked, does Miller still have the locker room? I think so. I do. I don't think he's lost the locker room at all, especially the way they came out today.
Yeah, I thought based on the way they came out and played and their attitudes, I think you and I said it the other day, we kind of know whether they've thrown in the towel about 3 minutes into the game, and I didn't feel that way. I thought that they looked like they wanted to win, like they wanted to play, and they had a good plan. So I don't think he's lost the locker room. I don't know that for a fact, but I don't think so.
I'm having trouble with those comments today. I'm using my phone because we had a little issue, and they're jumping all over the place. So bear with me on those, folks.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of the comments, look, a lot of the comments are frustration. Believe me, when nobody screams and yells. I mean, heck, I've been driving down the road for 6 hours today with anxiety about this game because I just kind of had a feeling this would be the outcome. And it is the outcome, and now I'm sick to my stomach because I just can't stand it. I can't believe that this is what Indiana basketball is at. And so I'm not talking trash. I think Archie Miller is capable of putting a staff together that's a winning staff. I think this team is capable of putting together winning basketball out on the floor. I just don't think that with the current situation that they have right now that it's working the way that it is. I mean, that's
definitely not working right now. Rutgers
everybody owns for the moment. Everybody owns.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And that
right game.
And that's a shame to talk about because now you have to talk about going forward. Where do you go from here? What this off season? And I'm going to go get Colin in a minute because this is where you guys, as both former players, you guys are both much more equipped to talk about that than I am. But, man, you just ended one of the most horrific 4-year runs, or the most horrific 4-year run in IU basketball probably. And if he comes back, I mean, the players, you've talked about player issues. I mean, it's a different world out there now. This team could see changes from personnel.
Well,
there's a lot of things that can happen.
Think about it, Jim. Last year at this time right now, we were all pretty excited about the freshmen that were going to be coming in and pretty excited about the opportunities of what those guys were going to bring to the table. And we don't even have that to look forward to right now. Like the guys, people coming in next year, like, I mean, I just don't know. I don't know if I can sit here and be overly optimistic about what I think they'll bring to the table. I just don't know that it's working.
I agree, and that's the whole. I don't know what's not working, but I disagree that he can fix it. I don't think he can because and he hasn't. So I just don't think he can. Yeah, he could bring in a hell of a guy, but then make him the damn head coach if that's the case. He doesn't need. It's time to go, but I don't know if he can.
Hang on a second, though, Jim. Think about this, though. Someone that could come in and fix the offense and make them a really good offensive team doesn't mean that person should or could be a great head coach. Tom Allen, we give him a lot of credit for being the head coach in Indiana because he coordinates all those groups together. And
Very
I
true.
think
It's a good point, actually.
Archie's a different coach type of coach than Tom Allen, because he is, when I say extremely hands-on, he does everything. He runs practice, he runs workouts, Archie does everything. And there's no offensive coordinators out there helping him do stuff. And that to me is what I think probably needs to have the biggest change.
Will, I hope you're using the camera from my phone here, because I can't tell from looking at it. But got Colin coming in now with Philly Men real quick. I've been talking to Todd about the change is definitely needed with what's going on. I'm not saying it's definitely have to be a head coaching change, but Todd was talking about whether it's an offensive coordinator, someone to change something, but it's definitely change that's actually made. Well, we got all three of them, so
you want to use this one? Is this the mic?
we can do that. Yeah, we got a great setup here tonight, man. It's awesome.
You hear me, Todd?
We had a technical problem earlier on, man.
Distancing. That is not
No,
social
it is not. But
under any circumstances.
Is it all the way up?
Yeah, we can hear you fine, Colin. If you can hear it all, we can hear you fine. So
you can hear me.
That's the face you need to see right there.
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you great. What's up, buddy?
How you doing, man?
Man, I suck. Like I am miserable basketball fan right now. So I'm not doing very well. This is my favorite time of year, as I'm sure it is yours and most basketball people. And it's horse shit. We don't get to watch them play for the rest of the March.
So what'd you say?
Just take one. You guys talk.
Yeah. So I mean, hey, so Colin, when you look at this, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. So I mean, people, I've done this, and I've been saying the same thing game after game after game. So it's nice to have somebody different on here, because everybody that watches our show regularly knows how frustrated I am and where, what I'm going to say. They know what I'm going to say every week. Where are you, a former player? I've made this statement on the show before, and so I'll kind of put it to you. So as a former player, how many games did you watch from beginning to end from this basketball? If they play 27 basketball games, how many did you watch from beginning to end? Can you hear me? All of a sudden, I can't hear him.
Can you hear me?
His phone's lagging out. Oh, there he is.
Yeah, I'm back. Okay.
Hang on. It'll take him a couple seconds for me to be able to
Can
hear.
you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Todd?
Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Okay. Hang on just 1 second, because I can't hear you, but it always takes a second to click in. So
Okay.
it'll catch up here in just a second. Now, all right. Now I should be able to hear you.
You can hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. So did you hear my question? Did you hear my question? Did you hear my question? Out of 27 basketball games, how many did you watch while they were going on from beginning to end?
Beginning to end, 0.
Yep. And that is I've been telling people this all year long. You could take former players that love basketball, still to this day love basketball, and they do not make it a priority to watch these games because it's that painful to watch.
Yeah,
That's factual. I mean, you believe with that?
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing that deters me from watching a game from start to finish is the inconsistency. It's one thing if you're not making shots consistently, but I think it's the biggest thing for me is the mental lapses that happen on a quite regular basis.
9-minute scoring droughts to end your season. Like that's incredible.
I don't know, and we have good players. I think Trace Jackson Davis needs to learn how to use his right hand if he wants to be dominant at the next level. I think that we have a lot of talented guys that get going too fast or what have you. I'll do this. There's a lot of things that go into it, but at the end of the day, I think that social media may have played a role in this, because I put myself, even since I've been in college, things have changed, right? And and it's been different with social media in the world that we live in. And people are on social media more, and they listen to what people say, this, that, and the other thing, and it ultimately revolves around people caring more about what other people say, being sensitive, and caring so much about the outside world. Whereas, my junior year when we were most successful, we lost 2 out of 3 in the Maui Invitational. And everybody had counted us out, blah, 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 blah. And we sat down as a team in that locker room and said, look, we're not going to read the blogs. We're not going to do X, Y, and Z on social media. And we're not going to look at them, read them, nothing. Nobody knows what we do day to day. And nobody knows what we go through in our daily lives, basketball on and off the court, right? So that's when we as a team decided to shut out all the noise, stop caring about who looked like what in terms of what we're wearing or whatever for arm sleeves and stuff like that. Nobody cared. You didn't wear headphones during workouts. You didn't do any of that stuff, right? And so I think that this team has gotten very conscious about how they're perceived by the outside world. And I think it's not really not to their fault, but I think it's
Why? Hold on a minute. Why is it not their fault? It is their fault. Of course it's their fault.
I mean, so you have to take into account, obviously, some of these guys are 18 years old.
So,
right?
Hey, you know what? When you were there, if someone would have asked you, did you want to be treated like a grown-ass man or did you want to be treated like a child? And every single guy in that locker room would say, I want to be treated like a man.
Right, but at the same time, I get where you're coming from 100%. Everybody's going to say a grown-ass man because that's what is the expected answer, right? But at the same time, to be carried out every single day, do you want to live like that? Like everybody wants to be rich. Everybody wants to be, everybody wants to live a very prosperous lifestyle and blah, 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 but not everybody wants to put in the work. Like everybody's going to say that they want to be successful in life, but at the end of the day, not everybody wants to put in that work, right? And so that's where it comes in. It's like, yeah, we want to block out the noise and not listen to everything everybody's saying about us. You could say that, but are you living it? Probably not, right? And my junior year is the first time that I really locked into that. My freshman year, dude, I read every blog. I read every board. I read everything. Everybody was like, I'm a waste of scholarship. I needed to transfer, blah, 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 right? But then I tore my ACL, and I locked in. I said, look, I need to prove to all these people that I belong here. When in reality, what it really came down to is I needed to prove to myself that I belong to IU. And I think a lot of these dudes need to do that. I think that a lot of these dudes, and I told this to Jim earlier in the week, is a lot of these dudes need to have the confidence that they belong there, that they are supposed to be taking those shots. They're supposed to be making free throws, because at the end of the day, there's nothing more based on preparation and confidence than making a free throw. There's no defense. It's completely slowed down. It's just you, the rim, and the ball. No defense, no whistles, no nothing. It's your preparation and your confidence. And that's what I think. That's the thing I think these kids are missing the most. And I'm not there day to day, so I don't know if it's the coach is not instilling it in them or the kids not buying into it. But I think these dudes, because they're better players than what they're playing. If you would have asked
with that.
If you would have asked me that at the beginning of the season, what would have been the biggest, issues that I would have seen from this team looking forward, talent would not have been one.
Yeah.
Very talented team, athletic guys. Obviously, I'm not even going to play the COVID card because everybody in the country is dealing with the same thing.
Everybody dealt with it, right?
Right. And so, it can't be an age thing. Because look at Purdue. They got one of the youngest teams in the country, and they're top 25 playing very, very, very well.
Age may be the difference in you winning or losing 1, 2, maybe 3 ball games in a year.
Down to the wire.
Between 12 and 15. Not the difference between 12 and 15.
Exactly.
So that could be a win or loss here excuse, but it's not a season-long excuse.
100%. And it's I keep going back to the inconsistency with these guys, and it's just, there's no other way to cut it than it's just frustrating.
Yeah.
right?
Well, I mean, if and here's the angle that I've kind of taken with this. Like, I don't like suggesting that there's a problem when you don't know what the answer, when you don't have a suggestion, when you don't have
Right,
an
you can't
answer,
just push out all the problems, have no solutions. I'm with
right.
that 100%.
And so what I'd be willing to say is, and this is a whole heck of a lot longer show than what we're doing right here. But I'm saying, like, there's a problem with the way the coaches and the players interact and the product that they're putting out on the floor. And I'm so willing to say that I'm telling you, if you gave me this same team, I would have had a way better record than what Archie Miller had with this team. Now, I think Archie's a better overall coach than I am, but I would have delegated some of the duties out. I would have hired 2 or 3 other people, and we would have been collective as a group way better with our team than what Archie and these guys have been. And I honestly believe, like, if you take that statement, it sounds like I just said Archie should be fired. And I honestly believe that Archie could still be the guy, but he has to relinquish some of the responsibilities for either offense or defense or some other things that go along with it. We can no longer be a team that has an assistant coach that's just responsible for recruiting. We can't have that. We can't afford that anymore. It's not working. It might have worked at Dayton. It's not working here. And so we need 3 assistants that all contribute in a manner of that is efficient. So we've got offensive guys and defensive guys and player development guys, and all these different things go together. If I see, you know what we'll see? If, let's just say, the whole team stays together, Colin, you know what we'll see all summer long? We'll see pictures from them in the weight room of them flexing and their 6-packs and how great they look and all the different bullshit that we see every single summer from these guys. And then next year, you know what we're going to see out on the floor? We're going to see 2 for 16 from the 3-point line again. If we have this same staff, we're going to see the exact same result. And that's why, like, I hate to say that, because you're talking about, like, people's jobs. Like, you're talking about, assistant coaches' jobs that I'm saying them as a collective group, it's not working with these players. And if that means Archie's got to go because he's not willing to change the assistants, then that's what I'm saying. But I do think Archie could stay, but I think he needs 3 guys with him that are all on the same page, and he's got to relinquish, in my opinion, he's got to relinquish the offense, let somebody completely run the offense. Because I'm telling you right now, I could take Trace Jackson-Davis, I could take Race Thompson, I could take Al Durham, Armand Franklin, Rob Finnessy. If you let me work with those guys for 1 year, every single one of those guys' shooting percentages would not just be higher next year, because that's an embarrassing thing to say. They would be really, really good shooters. Like, not just better than this year, because that's such a low bar that's set. It's a joke. But if you let somebody work with these guys all summer long, you could turn these guys into good players. You could turn them into good shooters, which I don't care. Like, I heard Dan Dockett say earlier in the year, and I love Danny, and I think he's great. But I heard him say earlier in the year, he said, Indiana's not shooting the ball very well right now, but that'll come along. They'll do that better. And I screamed into the radio. I'm like, no, it won't. It doesn't just magically happen because you say they'll get better at it. Like, it doesn't work that way.
You got to put in the work in the off season on that.
And it's not just, Colin, did you watch the Twitter video where they showed after a game, they showed Anthony Leal shooting the ball on the court, still in his uniform, and Trace Jackson-Davis is rebounding for him, kicking him back out to it. They showed that, like, after a game, and everybody's like, man, look at these guys trying to get extra work in and putting, they want to win and all that. And I'm like, bullshit. Look at his form. His form is screwed up. Like, what he's doing in practicing is making him worse. It's making him less consistent because he's got a flaw in his shot and nobody's out there fixing it. And that is my problem. Like, this is why people turn us off, because I get fired up like this every week. And it just, like, it's a joke. Like, I'm so tired and frustrated. I don't get to do it anymore all summer long, so I just freak out here for an hour after every show.
Well, I mean, I can't fault you for this, because ultimately, my freshman year, because it doesn't happen during the season. You don't become a better shooter during the season, and
well, you can if you're as bad as these guys are.
Right. Well, my freshman year, I was one of the worst. My freshman year at IU, I didn't make a single 3. Not one, the entire
Which is
season.
incredible compared to where you ended up your career.
Right? So Tim Buckley, not a lot.
And Tim's a shot doctor. Tim Buckley's a shot doctor. Tim Buckley on this staff would be incredible.
I don't know. And I don't know if it's happening or not happening. I'm just purely curious at this point because Coach Buckley, whatever aspect of your game that you wanted to get better at, whether it was finishing around the rim, whether it was your ball handling, whether it was your shooting, whatever it was, whatever it may have been, right? For me, it was my shooting. And, I went to Coach Buckley after I tore my ACL. In Bloomington, anyway, so I was like, look, I want to become a better player. I want to prove to myself. And so can you still hear me?
Yep.
You can?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So I put in the time. If you go, Coach Buckley was the kind of guy that if you go to Coach Buckley and you said, hey, Coach, I want to, because he was a guy who's like, look, if you invest the time, I'll invest the time, right? It was a mutually beneficial relationship or a reciprocal relationship, whereas he would give you the time that you wanted and he would buy in 100% before practice, after practice, off days, mornings, evenings, whatever you wanted, right? But it was 100% honesty and it was 100% to get you better. You couldn't get your feelings hurt. You couldn't get X, Y, and Z. You couldn't get butthurt about anything. And he fixed my shot. He changed it. My sophomore year, I had a breakout year for my career. Not that it was monumental by any stretch of imagination. But in relation to the freshman year that I had,
sure,
it was day and night difference. I was one of the leading 3-point field goal percent shooters in the entire Big Ten. My sophomore year, not having made a single three the year prior.
Right.
So it's I'm genuinely curious in terms of player development. Do we have a guy like that on the staff? And it can't be something that's delegated to a manager. It just can't. And it can't. I respected that Coach Buckley is the coach that recruited me, and he took ownership in me getting better and me prospering at IU. It wasn't. He didn't say go shoot this manager or go shoot with this coach with a made-up job, right? It was one of the head assistant coaches that was taking his time and investing in me.
My point with that is, so you could spend the time with Coach Buckley. Coach Buckley could get you to work on some things, and then you could go with a manager for 3 days in a row and shoot 85 million shots if you wanted to, and then come back and reconvene and do all that. But my point is, so I'll tell you straight up, and I've said it on the show before. Last year I went to practice. And I did not go there with this intention, but I went there and I watched these guys shooting. And I was like, why is nobody coming over here to fix what these guys are doing wrong? Like they have major flaws in their shot. Rob Finney, Armand Franklin, and Jerome Hunter. Justin Smith you could throw in there also, because I wrote a letter afterwards to Archie Miller, and I told him, I'm like, these are the things these guys are doing wrong. Somebody needs to be working with them on it. And I will tell you, Colin, today, they all still do the exact same thing. They all still make the exact same wrong issue with their fundamental shooting. And so they can go out there and shoot. I saw Anthony Leal shooting shots on a Twitter video from up in the stands that somebody shot, and I can visually see what he's doing wrong from that Twitter video. And so the fact that he's out there shooting, he's making himself a less consistent shooter by being out there shooting, because he's
making the issue harder to fix.
That's exactly right. And that's goes along with the point that you're making. I don't know who that guy is. I'm not there every day. We don't know who works out with him. But I could just, all we can do is go off of results, Colin. And so right now, I would challenge you. I think we would all agree Armand Franklin had major improvement from his freshman year to his sophomore year.
Oh yeah, Cathedral boy, baby.
You can't name another player. You can't. If you can, I want to hear it. Name another player that does one skill. I don't care what that skill is. That does one skill better than what he did last year. It's crickets. I've asked 100 people that question, and it's crickets. Everyone just goes back to arm lock. And that's
Hunter. I don't know.
We're earning it. There's just, I mean, it's a rhetorical question pretty much, because there's not a real answer. There's not one. So anyway, I mean, we could debate this forever. I appreciate you coming on. I mean, you got any wisdom for IU fans that we can hang on to for the summer, because they're so tired of listening to me bitch and complain every week.
I think I think at the end of the day, we're all passionate fans, and that's what makes playing at IU so great. You know, when you're great, it's the best thing in the world, right? You know, when you're winning, it's the best thing in the world as a player, because the fans are so passionate. You know, it is what it is. Like, when you're not winning, you have to take the good.
Colin, it's not even not winning. Like, we're not competitive. Like,
I agree.
We don't go into games expecting to win. I'm not saying the players. I'm saying as fans, like,
right.
We didn't expect to win tonight. We didn't expect to win against Purdue. Like, we don't expect to win anymore. And that's not fun. That's not a position I've ever been in.
Exactly. I mean, I'm with you there. I think that, it really just comes down to expecting to be able to have pride in a team, to have pride in the fact that your team's playing hard, and people don't look forward. People don't look forward to IU's on the schedule. Great, like, we got to win, right? Or no, we want to be a team that at the very, very least that they're going to get a dogfight. And I'd probably back to your earlier question. I think I would throw Race Thompson in that.
What's he better? What's he better at this year? But his numbers are better, but that's because he played a whole heck of a lot more minutes. But what's he better at? What skill is he better at?
Skill-wise, probably nothing. He just play hard. I mean, that's what it is.
I thought he was good. I thought he was good. Honestly, I thought he should have played more last year. I thought he was really good last year, but I thought he played hard, and I thought he was tough and hard-nosed. But I don't know that he was any better. It's not like he came out this year and made a whole bunch of 17-footers. There's not one skill that he's significantly better at.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Yes.
You can hear me now?
Yes. Yes. Nope. Nope.
I think the phone may have cut out.
Can you hear me now?
Will, are you talking to me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me, Todd?
Hang on. It's doing that thing where it takes like 15 seconds for it to come in.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I think they can hear you now, Colin. I can't. Yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah, cool. Yeah.
So anyway,
it's at the end of the day, we want the dudes to play hard, and at the very least, if you play hard, which I don't think that we did half the season. If you take all the minutes combined or whatever, our record would be better if we just played harder. And we're not talking defensive scheme mishaps that I saw abundantly tonight, or any of that stuff. Just down to the bare bones of it, just playing harder. Our record, we'd have 5 more wins, more consistently.
That's aggressive.
I think that we would.
Okay,
I think we would. If you play harder, more consistently, I don't think we're that bad of a team.
I don't think we're that bad of a team. I think that we could have been a lot better. I think we sucked based on what we did and the way we played and the way everybody was together. I agree with that. So anyway, well, thanks for coming on. Thanks for taking the time. Go have fun. Go have fun in Indy. It looks like there's a lot of people there. Go enjoy yourself.
I appreciate it, man.
All
It's good to talk to you, Todd. Take it easy, buddy.
See you, buddy.
You're up, boss. Yep. They clear off?
No.
We're
Still on. We're
still on. Man, I thought it was over.
No. Hey,
all right.
It should be over because I've done nothing but bitch and complain.
Do I need to hold the phone up first of all?
No, it's perfect.
I can put that down, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect the.
So.
Perfect.
Nope.
Well, you guys seem to have a great conversation, which is the point of that, because you guys definitely are two of the guys that know what it's like to play in this program. And
we're two of the guys that wore number 30. That's about all we are to that freaking program.
Did you both wear the same number?
Yeah.
Did not realize that. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you guys had fun.
I didn't get to see any of the comments, so I apologize to everybody because I didn't quote or comment on things that people said, so I apologize for that. But
well, we had a technical issue. We had everything set up, and then it didn't go right, so we didn't get to do that. We had to kind of do it on the run, but we'll get them back, you guys. We love y'all, and we appreciate you all so much. But we're going to hopefully just continue to do something. We'll talk
we need
about
to
it,
plan.
let you guys know.
We need to plan a show around the coaching change situation. Oh, wait a minute. Did I say that?
But we're not going anywhere. We'll be back to see you guys. Thank you so very much. And, of course, tomorrow, back on tomorrow morning as well. See, Burnell Jones on tomorrow, so looking forward to that. But thank everybody for joining us. Thank Todd most of all, and a big thanks to Colin Hartman. A big thanks to the Finney Hospitality Group here at the tap here on Mass Ave, and, of course, Yogi's back down in Bloomington. You guys, looking forward to seeing you again. Todd, thank you, sir. Be careful. Thanks to John and Will on the production side as well. So everybody have a great, safe night. Wear your mask. Do something nice for somebody. Until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.